up, everybody? This is Greg with Advantage One Brokers, and this is the ADV One Podcast. This is a podcast we come to you each and every weekday with relevant topics and trainings, and we bring on special guests. Bow, 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 bow. Guess what? I got the boys back. We're doing a panel podcast. We haven't done one of these in a while, guys. I'm excited. So with me, I got Kevin. Kevin, how you doing, big dog?
Dude, I feel like I can go through plate glass right now after that intro.
Yeah, I know, right? That video is dope. It's pretty dope. We got a guy named Michael, and the company made it for us. It's very, very, very kind of him. I got Jeff. Jeff, how you doing, buddy?
Dude, great. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for asking. It's very kind of you. David?
Excited to be here, brother. Yeah, I'm with Kev. I feel like it's time to go lift after that with just that sub bass and that intro. Loving that, man. Loving it.
It's a really, dude.
I can appreciate that.
Get you fired up. And last but not least, I got Zach Allen.
What's going on, sir?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Doing great. Ready to do this.
Yeah, fantastic, bro. So this is the ADV One Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Birch. What we do is we come together and we talk about relevant topics and trainings, like I said. But today we have a couple topics. And what I like to do now with the panel podcast is we have a specific topic in mind, and we're going to discuss it and just kind of all give feedback on our own opinions, our experiences, etc., and hopefully help you, the agent watching at home. Before we get started, a couple of notes. First off, this is day one. This is Monday, November 29th. So this is day one of the opt competition. And what it is it is the CRM policy submissions. Okay. So everyone that uploads their policies and uploads policies through opt, the person that uploads the most policies is going to be rewarded the top 10 people. And there's some pretty dope ass awards. Have you guys seen them? Have you guys seen what the awards are?
MacBook Pro.
Dude, a brand new MacBook Pro
sick.
for top place. That's pretty sick, bro.
Brand new iPhone.
For following a simple
iPhone,
set of instructions.
New iPad Pro, stuff like that. Like, we're just giving out a lot of stuff for the Christmas holidays. We got the holiday spirit. And then next is, if you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you have not already. Also turn on your notifications, because we come to you each and every weekday. We want to make sure that you're getting notifications whenever we come to you. If you get anything from this, if you got any value from it, then there's a simple value exchange. And it's very simple. Just share this with other agents in the field that can learn something and that can get value from it. I don't care what industry or what company they're in. If they're in the industry and they can learn from this, that's the point. We're here to help everybody. So with that being said, guys, how was your Thanksgiving? How was it?
It's dope.
Yeah. You guys enjoy your time?
Tons of food.
Tons of food.
Time.
Yeah, I ate too much. Like you said, it's time to lose some weight or
Yeah.
gain some muscle. One of the two. I mean, something needs
Dude,
to
I
happen.
ate so much food. So Lexi's, we did Thanksgiving holidays with Lexi family. And so and Kevin, you know about this, but Lexi's sister-in-law always teases me because I'm on keto. And we just started 75 hard. So I did keto, and she's like, you can't do keto, blah, blah, it's not bad. It's bad for you. And I'm like, it's just no sugar, really. Like, no sugar. I mean, look, I don't want a bunch of comments like, well, actually keto is this. Like, I know what keto is. I'm just saying in a very basic sense, it's just taking out carbs from sugars. So anywho, I'm like, it's not that like unhealthy being in ketosis. And so I was like, well, I'm going to bring some keto sides because, I'm, back on the diet. And, they made this big, like, oh, come on, it's Thanksgiving, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'm willing to bet I will make some of the best sides you've ever tasted, and they're going to be keto. Like, and it's going to just blow people away. And sure as shit, it did. Tell you.
Yeah. Did you guys take a place on that one too?
Huh? No, second place. You're out of your mind, son. You're out of your mind. Don't even bring up that. That's a whole nother can of worms. Even like Alexi's dad was like, I'm actually kind of upset that you have not made this before. Like, I cook for him all the time. He's like, this is the first time I'm having, like, I had to make a broccoli casserole. It's the first time I'm having it. Like, what in the world is going on that you just now introduced us to this delicacy? So yeah, man, it was a good time. Get to cook some good food, have a good time. Ran a 5K,
Yeah, you did. Turkey trot.
The turkey trot. So, Jeff,
Sure.
I want you to bring up the first topic. We'll get started.
Let's talk about being resourceful as an agent.
Okay.
I think that's probably one of the most important things you can be when you're 1099, because the hard part about being 1099 is that you are self-employed. That means you got to rely mostly on yourself. So I think it's really important to know how to fish for yourself. You guys know the old saying, you fish for a man, eats for a day. You teach a man to fish, eats for a lifetime, or woman, now. So I think it's really important that people know how to fish themselves, because if you can't do that in 1099 world, it's going to be really challenging to be successful, because here, the whole point of getting into the insurance business is to be really self-sufficient and also make a lot of money and have a lot of freedom. And, a lot of us that are in this business want to do the exact same thing. So if you could learn, in the beginning stages, have the training wheels on for a month, and then during that month period, 30 days, so I do with my agents mostly, get them to be self-reliant and resourceful. And then from there, the sky's the limit. So I think we should talk about being resourceful as an agent.
I think a better way to discuss this might be how do we as managers, and we can all have our different ways that we do this. How do you help your agents to be resourceful and be able for them to tap into their own potential?
Absolutely.
So, please, guys, at any time, just jump in. Let's
Communication, first off, right? Establish a clear line of communication between yourself and your direct leaders underneath you. I actually had one instance specifically for this, where I had one of my leaders call me when I was driving back to El Paso from Colorado, and he brings up an issue with a particular agent and something with their contract level, right? And so I start asking him questions rather than just giving him the answer. I start asking questions. Hey, how did you go about trying to figure out what the problem is, right? You can't ever fix a problem if you really don't properly frame what it is that you're trying to solve. And then you could find and tailor the right solution to it. So after I asked questions, then it was like an epiphany. Then he said, oh yeah, let me go ahead and do this. And then if I need any additional resourcing or help from you, I'll call you back. If you don't hear from me, consider it solved.
That's actually, you bringing up a great point, Kevin. That's something that I think that a lot of managers fail to do, is to paint a picture in such a slow way that their brains start starting to catch up and starting to think of everything. And it's almost like they just solve the problem themselves, but then it's like they did it. And so I learned that tactic actually when I was in the military in Iraq. I was a young captain, a company XO, and I had a battalion XO who I very, very much admired. He was just a fantastic dude. His name is Sean Kramer. He was a fantastic dude, and he was he was brilliant. And I would always go to him and say, if I had an issue, and be like, "Hey, sir, I'm having this issue," and all he would do is okay, what all have you tried to do to fix it? And I would go through this. I've tried this. I've tried this. I've tried this. I've tried this. And he's okay. Have you tried this? And I'm like, no, not yet. Okay, go try that and come back, talk to me. And what he was doing was he was really getting me to start to think outside the box, instead of just being instead of saying, hey, I already know the issue, go do this, and telling me, he's getting me to start to think so that I can come up with solutions before I even come to him. And hopefully I don't need him. And that's the point. When you're in a leadership position, the greatest thing that you can do is lead yourself out of a job to where people don't need you anymore, because then you did your job the best possible way. Is you led yourself to the point to where they are now self-sufficient, and they are beyond you, or at your same level or beyond you. And that's the point. You want them to be resourceful. If you just give answers, if they're coming to you and you just give them the answer without any pre-context or without challenging them and trying to get them to come up with an answer, they're just going to keep coming to you for answers every day in, day out, and you're using you as a crutch. Mm-hmm. Instead of relying on their own abilities for what they know that they have the ability to do. So absolutely.
I think that's huge. I was just going to add one thing to that, but I mean, some agents might take offense to that, or they might be like, well, Greg, you know the answer. Why don't you just tell it to me? And that you are trying to morph and teach them, because one day they probably are going to have to do the same thing with another agent. And at that point, they're going to get it oh, that's what he was trying to do. Instead of just giving the answer, they're teaching me how to figure out and be resourceful, which is obviously our topic. And I think like a lot of questions that agents will ask, if they actually were resourceful, they would get a lot more out of each of us. Like the more, you know, you improve your skills, like we can have those higher level conversations versus them asking, well, how do I log into the CRM, or how do I do that? Clear stuff that they should be able to figure out. And now you're taking our time, which, you know, we could be doing a lot higher level things for you and your agency than just answering those basic level questions. So I think it's like, it helps full circle, like the efficiency, help them get, you know, more to where they want to go, you know, just in that they've, you know, kind of taken some of that off of our plate. Same thing goes all the way up the line. We talked about this to you know, the gals at contracting, you know, trying to do that. It's like, look, if you can figure out some certain questions for yourself and not bog them down, we get through a lot of contracting a lot quicker. So same kind of topic, I think, that we're talking about, you know, here today, but it's not that hard. You know, it's kind of just takes a little bit more effort from the agent off the bat. But then once you get in a habit of doing that, you know, you become very, very self-sufficient. You know.
Mindset of getting in the mindset, exactly what you guys are saying, getting the mindset as a new agent, knowing that the answer is probably out there. You just got to search for it first. So when I was brand new, I always had like a triage situation. I'd be like, okay, if I need to find an answer, where do I go to first? Kind of like Greg was saying, I was to the Slack first. And you know what, I'll be honest with you, whatever question you have, there's probably a video out there for it. So you got to be resourceful to find that. So the Slack was the first thing I did. I found a very good resource for myself, which I encourage my agents to do, is a contact the carrier directly for a lot of carrier questions. You know, I get a lot of questions like, hey, what is this product? How does this product work? And how do I write this product? It's like, that's a really good question. I could spend an hour with you to do that. I really could. It's just, it would, if I did that with every single person, I wouldn't be able to run business in the field anymore. So going to the carrier became like a really good resource. In fact, I'll give you an example. When I started working with IULs, the only one I really knew of was Mutual of Omaha. And I went to Greg. I was like, hey, Greg, how does this work? He's like, I'd probably go to the carrier and ask them, because they know the answer better than he can explain it to me. And I was like, okay, whatever. Went to the carrier, simple 5-minute phone call. They sent me 3 training videos. Boom, we got to write an IUL. It was that easy. Yeah. And so my first,
did you feel insulted when I
didn't feel insulted at all? I mean, the truth was I got way more out of just calling the carrier directly, learning directly from the source than Greg could ever give me. He could have spent 2 hours with me trying to do that. I got way more out of it just going directly to the carrier.
And you're also, whether you know it or not, you're starting to build a relationship with that carrier.
Right.
So you can start to find points of contact at the carrier that you continuously kind of reach out to, because that's their job. They have whole teams of people to do this, but you can start reaching out to them and you can start to make a name for yourself. And then now you have somebody that you can just reach out to, because you start writing business with them, because you've called them and you've gotten information, because you're sending agents to them. And they're like, oh man, this guy, Jeffrey Von Keenis, he's got a whole agency that's sending people to us. And he keeps calling us, and he's like, and now they're making a relationship. Now you have somebody over there you can just call, tap into, maybe even send him a text. Hey, bro, got a quick question. Now you have somebody that can help. And so I'm helping also to try to build you up as your own agency owner that has direct lines to carriers, which is powerful now at this point, because now you're building relationships.
And I want people to know that's a real thing. You know, like I have underwriters through Mutual Omaha that I can literally shoot a phone call to and be like, hey, can you look at this case really quick? And they'll be able to pull that up. There's now contacts at Foresters I can reach out to on a phone call basis and be like, hey, can you look at this for me? And they'll get it done right away.
Could you have done that if you did not reach out to carriers yourself and start from the ground? Could you do that now?
No way. I'd be on hold for 30 minutes trying to get through whatever when I was trying to get to that person. It would never happen.
Yeah.
So
it's just being a little nice, actually doing the work, calling people, having a good conversation, asking questions. And 9 times out of 10, they'd be like, hey, if you have any questions, here's my direct email. And that's how it starts. It's that simple.
Right. And I want people to know too is that these leaders on the call here, they're not like an encyclopedia. They don't know everything.
Well, I was just going to say that the stupid thing is if somebody asks me, hey, what about this carrier and this product? And I don't know. And I'm like, and I've made this mistake. I'm like, you know what? That's a good question. And then I go and call the carrier and get all the info. And then I just am the springboard and I relay it back to the agent. I'm like, damn it. Why am I doing that? The agent could just do that. Screw it. You know, I'm just going to tell the agent to go, and you know, that way I don't have to waste my time doing that. So it's funny.
Yeah, it's good that you know it, because now you have the information and now you can, but what do you have? What ends up happening? You end up being that crutch for everyone else.
I'm becoming more resourceful and the agents are becoming less. So I'm learning more and more. That's the opposite of what we want. Yeah.
And you also are you're getting the advancement of like making that carrier relationship, but they're not. I would rather all my agents have all these different relationships with these different carriers they write the most business with, because then now there's all these different resources within the entire organization. That's like, hey, if you want to have anything about F&G, I would go talk to David. If you want something pushed through, if you're asking how to do it in F&G policy, you need to go to F&G. But if you want to have access to somebody that might help you push a policy through, well, David might be your guy because he works with F&G so much. He might have a contact for you. If you want somebody that has a contact with Mutual of Omaha, well, old Grub, he might have, he loves the cow. You know what I'm saying?
There's no other person in the world we would go to besides Grub on that.
Yeah, like he writes a lot of Mutual of Omaha. He likes it. It's not that one carrier is better than another. It's just that it's just based off of what the scenarios they've run into in the home. And so now you can start to create those relationships, and you can start to create them interpersonally within the organization. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to be impossible for any one of us on this call to make those kind of relationships with every single carrier and also write business. I would be unrealistic for me to tell an agent, go make a relationship with all these carriers, plus also write out business and learn everything and learn leadership and do all these things. You wouldn't have time in the day. It's going to be something that happens over time. So, you know, that's why you'll probably make one relationship with one or two carriers really well because you use them a lot. And then if you need help with another one, then you have resources within the organization that you say, hey, who's really good with F&G? Who's really good with Assurity? Who's really good with LBL? You know, and then go out and reach out to those people. They may be able to give you guidance, but don't ask questions that the carriers can answer. That's like a simple question. How do I get into the e-app? My time's better well spent. No offense. Helping agents that actually need help, not answering that, which can be Googled. Go to Father Google. So
our mother Siri.
Yeah. Which asks Father Google's permission. So Zach, what about you, man? You're quiet here. I want to hear how do you help agents to be resourceful?
I've come across it a lot lately where agents are way too concerned with too many insurance companies instead of focusing on a core group. And I've really gotten them to narrow it down and, hey, pick a good group of carriers and study those, know them inside and out. The other thing that agents, or that I do personally, is, let's say I didn't know anything about the cow. So I go onto YouTube and I can type in Mutual of Omaha webinar. You can find their previous presentations on all the products they offer, and they can line them all out for you. So on top of Google, YouTube, the stuff that Greg's done on YouTube, calling the carrier, there's a lot of stuff to make it happen, but just don't overwhelm yourself with too many carriers.
Yeah.
It's too much at one time.
No, you're absolutely right. And you're bringing up a good point. Like how to, and Jeff, you started to talk about this is, there, you should have like a checklist of, okay, I'm gonna start here. If that doesn't have them, I go here. If I go here, it doesn't have them, I go there, so on and so forth. And like, I think when all else fails, you can always go to Google, and you can do that. Like, I don't know anything about how to do Mutual of Omaha, their term product, Mutual of Omaha Term Life Express videos. I promise you're going to come up with something. You're going to come up with a lot of stuff there and be like, okay, I'm going to start digging in. You don't have to wait to get a hold of an upline to tell you something that you can learn right then and there. You know what I'm saying? And that's being resourceful. That's taking the ownership on yourself to learn these things. We have the Slack, we have the YouTube channel that you're watching this on. Hopefully, we have the actual Advantage One Brokers website. We have ourselves. But if you're coming to me and you're asking me a question and you haven't done any previous research, I'm not starting at scratch with you. Now, when there's onboarding, there's training to kind of get you in the right place to get basic knowledge. Like I can't, if I did that with every single person coming on board, I wouldn't even be able to sleep, and I still wouldn't help everybody. That doesn't, like, I don't have the ability to do that. So that's where, and this is why you as a manager, you as a leader, if you watch this, it's a little bit of a higher level conversation. If you're bringing people on board, you need to make sure that there are systems put in place that you can help to funnel them to to say, hey, look, this is how we're going to teach you. We're going to teach you about leads. Next, we're going to teach you about carriers. Next, we're going to teach you about presentations, whatever it's going to be. How we do it, how I do it is we do, the contracting, we get you put into the communications and all the resources, and then we do leads. And that's going to answer most of your questions. And because once they're in the resources, then they're going to get access to all the previous videos, the YouTube and all that. And I want them to peruse. I want them to learn. I want them to do it at their own pace. But I want them to start those places. And then we have our weekly trainings, depending upon what silo they're in: final expense, mortgage protection, IULs, the national sales call, whatever it is. I want them to go ahead and funnel into what means the most to them. And that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to do what Kevin said. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to ask them, hey, what are you interested in? As people ask me, hey, what lead should I get? I want to do a lead, what's the name of it when they want to talk about leads?
Like a lead strategy. They want to get like an information session.
Lead strategy session.
Lead strategy session. That's what I was looking for. I want to do a lead strategy session. You know what my lead strategy session is, Jeff? Hey, did you watch the lead video that discusses every single lead type, how much they cost, what the average rate of return is, how to order them, how long it takes them to come in? Did you watch that? Well, yeah.
I didn't watch it yet. No, I didn't.
Yeah. Well, look, and then I'm like, then go watch it, and then we'll have a conversation. Because I'm not going to reteach you something that's literally on video that teaches you everything. I'm not going to spend 20 minutes when it's already recorded. Everything I would have said is already recorded on a 20-minute video. Go watch that, and then we'll have a conversation. Now we're going to go forward in the future and say, okay, now you've watched it, and you come back and say, okay, now I want to have a lead strategy video. Okay, Jeff, after watching that, which one are you leaning towards?
I really like the mortgage protection A leads.
Perfect, and I would order those. How many do you think you want to order each week?
10 or 15.
Perfect. I'd start off with 10 then. I didn't tell you what to do. You did it. Right. And then afterwards, they're like, well, I just picked. You're right. You did. Because I taught you to go educate yourself and to make a decision for yourself, to commit to something.
Everyone is so different that's what's great about the core we have here in ADV1 is everyone's so different. So like if you come to me, I'm going to tell you the same exact thing. Like, what would you do? I would run A leads. That's what I would do. And then you might go to someone else and be like, live transfers are way better. And then someone else might say final expense is way better. So that's kind of where, when you become your own business owner, you figure out what works really well for your business. And that's something that I can't dictate for you. So go back to what you said, man, like using these videos is so much better when you have your own opinion. And then you bring your own opinion to me and we can talk through it.
Yeah.
That's a really big deal.
Absolutely. Any other parting shots on this?
Just one thing to touch on what Zach was saying, which is, I've had agents complain, I barely have any carriers. I've got, 40 in BGA and, I've got, and I'm like, well, how many carriers do you have? Oh, I have 10 completed. Oh, dude, you have 10 carriers. Like, you don't need all 50, start writing business. Like, I mean, I know people that have one carrier that are, crushing it. So we kind of talked about this on another podcast, but it's like, there's a difference between being resourceful and being like a professional meeting attendee and trying to learn everything, but never applying anything actually in the field and just gathering all this knowledge. And it's like, knowledge is only useful if you actually apply it. So it's like, don't sit there and spend all your time studying and becoming an expert at one product if you're never planning on getting into the field or buying some leads or making some calls, right? I mean, it's like, you're going to learn as you go. So having a handful of carriers, like Zach was saying, and getting to know them, that's great. But then go and start applying them. And then if you need to add additional carriers, great, then do that. But don't let that be a reason why you're sitting there doing nothing and just basically contracting and bugging the managers. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that people know, hey, a few carriers. Oh, okay. How many carriers does Kevin and Jeff and Zach? We have all the same. We probably have about between 7 and 9 carriers right now. Yeah. And that's plenty to write business. So, resourcefulness.
I always like to use Fisher as an example. How many carriers do you have, Fisher? So I only got a couple. Like how many? What do you write in business? They're pretty much through one.
Yep.
And he's writing like the most business just about in the whole company. So come on, man. Yeah. Like you don't need that many carriers. You just really don't. So.
Yep.
Zach, were you gonna say something else?
No, when David was talking about knowing all the knowledge and not enacting it and trying to get everything, it clicked on what is it? Andrew Facilla calls it success zombies, where you're trying to gather all the information and you just never do anything. You just sit there and keep gathering it, gathering it.
You're watching every podcast. You're going to every event, every live event. You run every single weekly training. You're literally going to the final expense training, the mortgage section training, the live transfer training, the IUL training, and the national sales call. And then you're also watching every single podcast, and you haven't even bought leads yet. That's a problem. If that's you, if you're watching this video, you need to turn this video off. You need to go pick a lead source. You need to go buy it. You need to go get in the field. You've watched enough. Yep. So that's not very harsh. That's just a reality. Like there's not going to be, no one's going to say something special to you that's going to be like, nope, now's the time. It's not going to just all of a sudden click. You just got to commit.
Yep.
So 100%.
All righty. Any other last pits before we go to the next topic and we close this out? All right.
That does it.
Hey, Zach, I'm going to, you're breathing through your nostrils probably because I can hear the breath. So, not to put you on blast, but yes, to put you on blast. The next topic is something that I was actually listening to a podcast, and this is something that we went through ourselves, you and I, Kevin. And it was, how do you effectively become a leader or a manager of people when you're friends with them? Like if you're, and this, I think this is something that happens a lot in the insurance industry because we do a lot of recruiting from our warm market, from people I know, our friends or family, stuff like that. But then how do we effectively become a manager or a leader of them when we're also close to them in that sense? And so, there's two thoughts. There's two, I guess, trains of thought here. One is that I see typically in the industry. One is that so people will throw their hands in the air and say, well, everyone's 1099. These are 1099 agents. They can do what they want. I'm just showing the system. And they kind of leave them to their own devices and they don't really do any effective leadership. But then what almost instantly happens after that is they start focusing on their numbers. They start focusing on their performance and their production, and they come in and they start hammering them about getting higher numbers, having more issue pay, more submitted numbers, coming to meetings, and this like kind of hammering them without actually doing any leadership. And so what it can do is like kind of erode that friendship, that relationship, and make it very transactional. And so sometimes also like you might have to have very difficult conversations and just give them a realistic look at what you see and what you're thinking with no emotion, just straight business, and try to do it in a sense of helping them. And what I feel is that as long as you're willing to help, and it really is about them and not yourself, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be successful. But I'm going to open it up to you guys and let you talk a little bit. Kevin, I'd like to hear your opinion and be transparent, bro. But I'd like to hear your opinion on this.
Perspective. You need to maintain perspective, right? And you can't take anything that happens personally, right? So yeah, we did get into it over the weekend, but it was very productive because we had a candid conversation with each other about, hey, this is how others view what's going on and what you're trying to do. Even though my perspective is, hey, this is what I believe and I've known to believe to actually need to happen to get some of these processes in place so that we can be successful. But, I'm coming from, like you, when you made the transition, we come from organizations that everything, when it gets done very, very rapidly and very deliberately. And I need to learn to slow down. And that's something that I'm learning and I'm reflecting on. And I need people like Greg and like you guys here on this podcast to have that kind of conversation, be like, hey man, there's probably a better way to go about it. And this is how I would have done it. And it probably would have had the same effect without some of the fallout. And that's okay because we're all consistently learning. And
I think to caveat off that is that when if someone does have that candid conversation, like Kevin was very graceful in that. And Kevin was like, okay, I was not aware. Like, I wish you would have come to me and talked to me sooner. And we could have had this conversation and I could have fixed this. And if somebody does, you have to be graceful enough to just take it and listen, because if one person's saying, or two people saying, there might be something there, whether that's your intention or not, it still may be something that's being portrayed to other people. And so, what about you guys, Jeff, David, Zach? Don't all start at once.
I think you should always be able to listen and take constructive criticism, and be able to give it too. But no matter what anybody's saying, take an honest look at yourself. You always have to have a better picture of yourself. And, is it being factual or are they wrong? But most of the time there's something there.
Yeah. David, I'd like to hear your opinion, David, because you have some people that are pretty close to you. It seems like in terms of relationship wise, friendly wise, with Fish, with Dez, but you are a leader to them. They look up to you. They follow your guidance. How can you differentiate that role where it's like, yes, I'm your friends, but also like, I need you guys to get this stuff done.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people I could see how people could struggle with that. I mean, there is kind of like a clear line there. Like when we're going out together and we're going to have fun, at that point, it's like they are just a really good friend, a close friend. It's not like I'm like, okay, I'm the leader here. We're going here. We're going doing this, doing that. But like, if we're talking about business or we're on a Zoom, like, I mean, it's kind of like who you choose to build, the agency with, like, and what type of individual are they? Like, I mean, the people I'm close to, like, I'm close to them because they understand that. And I don't have to like, verbally draw out that line. Like, okay, when we're talking about this, like it's about business. And when we go out to dinner or, go on vacation or something, then we're not. Like, it's kind of just something that they adopt. So I've been super lucky for that. But as far as being like open with, critiquing and constructive criticism, all that, I think it was maybe Mark Twain that had a really good quote. And it was like, it's not what you don't know that hurts you. It's what you believe to be true that ain't so. And so like, if you really believe like oh, I'm a certain way and people, I come off as this way, like I must. And then a bunch of other people are telling you the opposite, like, bro, you actually come off this way. And like, then it's like that could be really dangerous if you don't, aren't open to that. You're just going to believe that lie about yourself that you keep telling yourself. And pretty soon you're going to believe that as a truth. And then you're going to be way further down in the hole than you need to be. So I think all of us here on this call, I mean, we're very, very receptive to, I mean, that's why we're leaders. We're receptive to like, I want to get better. I want to improve. So I want to put my ego aside. And if a bunch of people are saying this, or you're saying this, like, I want to fix it and course correct so that I can, treat everybody better and I come off better. So, but yeah, it can be tricky. Like if you're just kind of all over the place with, bringing on people that are close to you, friends, family, and then, you kind of don't have those distinct differences or stuff bleeds into the other, that's why they say you don't want to mix business and pleasure. But I think you can mix, really good friendships and, and business. And those are the ones that are really going to stick with you to the end, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Dave. That's actually what you said there. Relationship is what keeps people around, I think. People would quit on you 100 times over if they have no skin in the game and that they don't, dedicated to you, they wouldn't be here anymore. So the easiest way to explain this, I've learned over the years in insurance, is that you got to treat your agents as if they're like your kids. And I want to explain this in a way, it's not like they're my kids, but you got to be in a position where you want the best for them. Because if my kid is going to eat candy every single day, all day, that's not good for her. So I'm going to address that with her and explain why. And I'm going to do it in a very caring way. I'm not going to try to address this like, hey, stop eating candy. You're going to rot your teeth out. I'm going to explain to her in a very nice way. And that's the same thing if you have any kids, like you're talking to your spouse. You got to understand there's a lot of ways where you can bring things full circle for people, and you can do it in a caring way from a good place, because we're all humans. And at the end of the day, no matter what happens in a conversation, we're going to get emotions involved at some point. That's what part of being human is. And the conversation can turn angry and there's a fallout. And it just took one conversation to do that. It could be too nice where you're like too caring for this person and then you don't give them the hard truth. So I think it's really important when you're talking to your agents that you keep that emotion involved, that you are coming from a good place, like Greg said, and you're also giving them the hard truth because you really care about them. If you don't take this business personally, like you're in the wrong business, because you're in business for yourself. If you don't care about yourself, then don't be here. Because I'm here to make money for my family. And at the end of the day, that's why I go to work every day. And so I think it's important when you're talking to people, you deliver it in a way that is very, very caring, but also very true. And the truer you are, the more you care. That's the way I look at it. So I sometimes I have conversations with my agents where I get very emotional too. And that's just my style. I just get fired up and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Or girl, what are you doing? Like, we need to be doing it. Like it, and it comes up with, like, at the end of the day, I'm serious. It gets to the point. I'm like, what are you thinking, man? Like, why would like to that point? But then at the end of it, the conversation ends in a very good way because people always remember the first thing you say and the last thing you say. So when you end that conversation, you need to end it in a very good way. Be like, let's recap. What did we learn? I still love you. We're still friends. Call me tomorrow if you need help.
Yeah.
Got to end it that way. So
I just to bring this full circle, and we can close this bad boy out, is when you're just like you're saying, and you're giving them the information they need to actually make them successful, but you're delicately doing it. This is no different than helping them to be resourceful. Bringing this full circle, instead of doing all the work for them, kind of showing them, hey, even though you're friends and you know them, hey, go do this. Go do this. This is what I did coming on board. This is what you should do. This is how I learned. This is how you should learn also. Don't. So I think a good example of this is that my mom is a psychologist, but she also taught at the collegiate level psychology classes. Okay. And we used to tease because my older brother, Christopher, took her class and my mom failed him because he thought that my mom was going to be soft on him and he could just kind of skate through class. And my mom was like, no. Like that's not at all what's going to happen. My mom ended up failing him. There's more to the story, but she ended up fucking my brother. So when I went to college, I did not take my mom for psychology classes thinking, because I was just like, I'm not going to get flunked by her. My mom's already set that standard, but my friends did. And my friends were like, is your mom a really good teacher? I'm like, dude, she's a great teacher, but don't think just because she's my mom that she's going to go easy on you. She's going to treat you like every single other person, but that's good but like my friends that took her loved her. They were like, dude, your mom's the best. She's really great at teaching. The way she breaks things down is so like it just makes sense, and she can break these really difficult concepts down. And so, but she just treated everybody equally. So even though you have a friend coming in business, you should treat your friend no different than you treat any other person coming in the business. And you should help them to be resourceful by showing them ways to find answers without just coming to you as a crutch, just to bring this whole conversation full circle. So, Awesome. How do you guys like this style of panel podcast where we do a topic and discuss?
It's the best way to do it.
Dude, I even like the new platform. It's way better than Zoom.
I know, right? It's really good. Too. I like it.
That intro is fire. Still think about the intro.
Awesome. All right. So for anyone, Kevin, if anyone watches this and they're like, dude, I love the way that Kevin breaks things down. I want to work alongside him. I want to get to know him a little bit better. How can they reach you?
Cell phone's always going to stay the same, guys. Area code 720-416-2907. Send me a text because I'm constantly busy, but I will get back to you within 24 hours.
Grub Grub. How about yourself?
You guys can page me my new pager. I'm just kidding. No, call my cell phone. I wish we had pagers, actually. Call my cell phone, 208-699-6648. If you text me, it's going to get lost, which I found. So just call me and leave a voicemail, and I will call you back.
Z.
Shoot me a text message. Don't call me. I don't really answer calls unless I know who it is. Number is 609-610-6484. I'll get back to you quick.
For me, either one works. So texting or give me a call, 760-505-2641. Or you can reach out to me on Instagram, ddoring at ADV1 Brokers.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for taking part in the podcast. If you got any, like I said, if you got anything out of this, then awesome. The fee is simple. Just go and share this with somebody else. I don't care if you laughed, if you cried, if you loved it. It doesn't matter. Any value at all. Share this with other people in the industry that can get some value out of it. If you got nothing from it, then don't share it. I don't give a care. I don't care. So until next time, we'll see you.